We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com.
Marc N. Mark has several elements to his question. He recently bought a Polk PSW505 subwoofer and decided to try pairing it with his old Onkyo 10-inch sub, the last survivor of his original home theater in a box system.
Yep.
Interesting. He bought a simple RCA Y splitter and hooked them up to the single subwoofer output on his AV receiver. That sounds reasonable. When he powered everything on, he immediately noticed a low hum coming from the Onkyo sub. He's tried plugging the Onkyo into a different outlet and swapping the input cables between the two subs and even moving the subs around the room, but the hum remains. The Onkyo sub stops humming when it goes into standby, but as soon as it turns on, it hums. Could the Y splitter be to blame, and should he buy a better one from Blue Jeans? I bet it's not, but can it be? Can it be, technically speaking?
The chances of the Y splitter causing the hum directly, as in if you used a different Y splitter, this wouldn't happen.
I doubt that.
Almost certainly not.
Right.
No.
And my first question is, did you try it with just the Onkyo and by itself with a straight cable?
Well, it seems as though he did, because that was his previous setup. Prior to all this, he didn't have the Polk. He only had the Onkyo.
Right, but I'm just saying, maybe somehow, is it possible that the Onkyo wasn't causing a hum when it was hooked up to the...
Like he just wasn't using it before?
Or it wasn't humming, but somehow the Polk does. I don't know. I'm just trying to step through this.
No, he had the Onkyo prior. He didn't mention that it ever hummed when it was all by itself.
Okay.
He bought this Polk. He connected the two of them, and now the Onkyo hums for some reason.
I would just want to know for sure, does the Polk hum on its own?
Well, I mean, it's not humming right now. It's only the Onkyo that's humming, which is the one he already had before, and it wasn't humming before.
Oh, the Onkyo is... I'm sorry, I'm confused. I thought the new sub was... Okay.
No, new sub doesn't hum. Old sub didn't used to hum, but now when they're together, the old one hums.
Well, this is easy. It's jealous. It's jealous of the new sub. It's what's happening. Okay, so he's read about ground loop isolation transformers like the one made by Blue Jeans Cable, but doesn't want to buy one if it isn't likely to solve the problem. What do you think, Rob?
I think it is likely to solve the problem.
Really?
It does sound like what you have is a difference in ground potential between sub number 1 and sub number 2. And of course, sub number 1 and sub number 2 are now electrically connected because they're sharing this Y splitter, this output. So it does seem like the likely culprit. Now, he's like, I don't want to buy this thing if it isn't likely to solve the problem. Well, luckily, you can buy it off of Amazon and return it if it doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
So, to me,
I guess that's worth trying.
It's worth a shot, because it very likely this definitely does sound like a ground loop, essentially.
It really does. Especially if it's that deep hum that we all know and love. That's right there near the brown note. Is it even worth bothering with this Onkyo 10-inch sub from the home theater in a box system? That's also another question that pops into my head. Is he gaining anything? Is it helping with uniformity? It's not going to make it significantly louder or more powerful.
No. And the Polk PSW505, it is a 12-inch sub. It's not tremendously powerful. It doesn't play tremendously lower than the Onkyo, but it is a little bit more powerful. It does play a little bit louder and lower. So you do sort of end up with a case of lowest or weakest link in the chain, you might say.
Yeah.
You're as far as what your dual subs are doing, you are somewhat limited by the Onkyo.
I don't know that it's worth the trouble or the space if you had
or the
two
cost,
Polks.
right? Like take the $45-50 that would go towards the ground loop isolator and save it up to put towards a second sub to replace the Onkyo. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Because are you really gaining that much by leaving the Onkyo 10-inch sub in there? After all, it's a home theater and a box sub.
As home theater and a box subs go, the Onkyos were half decent.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just questioning whether this is worth the trouble. No, I don't know.
That's a tough call. I would say you can make an argument either way, because I'd say particularly if you're in a fairly small room, and
Right.
particularly if you care about more than one seat, then there's some benefit to be had here.
Sure.
But yeah, you can certainly make the argument, especially if you really only care about one seat, if you're the only person who really cares about your primary seat,
Yeah.
then I do have to agree with at least spending any amount of money to eliminate a hub in a sub that you can probably just eliminate from the system entirely.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Because there
Doesn't
are
make
a lot
sense.
of situations, families, roommates, situations where there's really only one person that cares
Yeah.
if it sounds like a home theater,
Yeah.
and everybody else could not possibly be bothered.
Right.
In which case, do that subwoofer crawl, get it perfect for you and where you like to sit,
Yeah.
and then everybody else can, eat cake.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's cut and dry. You must do one
Right.
or the other because you can make an argument either way. But
Yeah.
yeah, when we're talking about subwoofers of this price class spending upwards of $45, $50 to ground loop isolate the lesser sub,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I bring that up because I'm not just
Yep.
cheap. I'm cheap and lazy. So if it's easier, I'm going to go easier.
But if this is what you want to do, Mark, and there's an argument to do it, then I do believe the ground loop isolator would help solve this issue. And if it
Very,
doesn't,
very
you can return it if you buy it from Amazon. So I wouldn't call it a complete waste of time to try it.
Also, Mark asked what brand and type of banana plugs we recommend, and Rob has some very good suggestions here. I like the looks of the first one you linked us to.
Sure. So Tom in particular really likes to use locking banana plugs.
Uh-huh.
So these ones, what happens if you look at the tip of that barrel up at the end there, you actually rotate this sort of gray collar. So you rotate that and that splays out the end up there. You see those sort of pins that are horizontal across
It's a little
the
like
top
a
there?
molly bolt when you're hanging a picture on drywall.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that collar goes up, it pushes those pins up, and that splays out the top, so it locks in.
like that
Really,
a lot.
really secure connection, and it'll basically never wear out unless you completely overcrank it and break it. The one downside is that when you're first putting the speaker wire into it, it's using these little screws to hold in the bare speaker wire, and then you got to tighten down the collar, so the whole thing takes a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's a little fiddly, but it looks really good.
But it's really good, yeah.
It looks high end. I like the look of it. The only thing is, if you don't have any space behind your speaker, you probably do, unless it's mounted right up against the wall. I can see that kind of sticking out far.
Potentially, yeah.
Maybe.
But
it looks
yeah,
great.
but I like to go even cheaper because those ones you can get 10 pairs that they
You get 10 red, 10 black, and you get that for $36.
yeah. So that's not a crazy price. That seems reasonably affordable for
That
10
many,
pairs of those. But I like to go even cheaper. I like Sewell. Sewell has some banana plugs that they call Strike. That's just the name of them. They're really, really short, so they're convenient if you don't have a lot of space behind. And they're just your very basic, it's a spring, basically, that's holding it in there. So if you're plugging and unplugging a whole bunch of times, it is possible to wear down that spring. But they're so cheap
Yeah.
that I pretty much don't care. And what I like most about them is they're super fast to install. That's what I like about them.
Yeah, no, there you go. That's for my lazy thing.
So
That
all you
sounds
do,
good.
you strip the wire, you feed the wire in through the bottom. It has this wedge of metal inside. You tighten it down, you're done. It's like there's no
Interesting.
screws to adjust. There's no collar to adjust. It's the fastest that I've come across. Speaking of fast, I do also like to mention wire strippers.
Yeah.
Neiko make some self-adjusting wire strippers. I even made a short little video just demonstrating how they work.
I did see your video, and I would not have guessed that's how they work. And I kind of want these strippers now, being a big fan of strippers.
There you go. I think we
but that
found a
looks really
title.
good. Yeah, big fan of strippers. It's better than gastrointestinal as a title. Yeah, no, those look really cool. Any size that it is, it'll pry it right off.
Yeah, and it never touches the the metal inside or anything. So $16 if
Yeah.
you're going to be stripping any number of leads, it's not a huge investment. I love those things. So yeah,
I want those. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and add those to a cart right now just to remind me. I'm not kidding. Like those look
he
really
doesn't care
great.
about the banana plugs that we're asked about, just the wire strippers. That's the fun part.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
no,
No,
they're fantastic.
I'm talking about from Lee. I'm the center of the universe.
right.
What matters is what I'm interested in, right?
But yeah, those GLS brand locking banana plugs that Tom really likes, $35 for 10 pairs of those.
Yeah,
The Strike banana plugs from Sewell that I really like, 7 pairs for $12. So even cheaper.
Yeah.
You can also get them in a 14 pair pack. So that comes out to what, $22? So you're even saving a little bit more money there. So I really like them because they're super fast to install and they're so cheap that even if you wear them out, who really cares? You just throw in another pair.
Kind of makes me want to convert everything from bare wire to banana plugs.
I know,
I just have bare wire now, but yeah, it looks really
the
cool.
chances of having that one little stray strand go down. So.
You're right. And I know, well, you know, back when you told me, and I told you about my problem of the amplifier shutting off, and you're like, check and see if you've got everything installed right. Boy, it hits you in your pride.
Yes.
And you don't want to go look. You're like, because, God dang, I'm
But believe me, Tom and I have both done it many times.
I will be crushed if I find out I did it wrong. But I didn't do it wrong. So. Hooray.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.